Welcome to the eSales Podcast, your ultimate guide to mastering the art of online selling. Whether you're an entrepreneur, business owner, digital marketer, or sales professional, this podcast is the passport to dominating the digital marketplace. My name's V, your eSales navigator. Join me as we dive into the latest strategies, tools, tactics to help you automate and conquer the world of online sales. Get ready to boost your online sales game and unlock your full potential. Let's dive in. So, welcome everyone to this show. I'm very excited to have Coach Cam, on the call for us today. He is a sales coach, a Christian, a father, and just recently he's certified business coach and sales trainer. So, Cam, I'm very excited to have you on the call today. Welcome.
Vi, thank you so much. I really appreciate you inviting me on here. Really excited for what you've got going on, and looking forward to providing a little bit of value.
Perfect. Thanks, Cam. And look, let's get started with, I guess, where you've come from. You've had a bit of a history. So tell us a bit of your journey and how you got to where you are today, especially when it comes to being such an advocate for sales.
So as far as where I come from, when a man and a woman love each other very much, no, I'm kidding.
Okay, we're going down that route. Yep, done. Let's do it.
Back before there was dirt. No. So I've always lived in Texas, grew up in Texas, and always kind of had the ability to engage with people, talk to people. I was very outgoing, which was interesting because I had very introverted parents, and just a very introverted circle of people. And so my extroversion was often challenging for them, just to kind of figure out how to best, prep me for the real world as they saw it. So, with people that tend to think outside the box or operate outside the box, we make box sitters a little uncomfortable. So a little bit about me. I've been in the military. I served as a military police officer for a few years, and then following that, decided I didn't want to be hot or shot at. So I turned to technology and began to make a career there. Always had a knack for technology, really kind of understood it in a special way. I remember I was very young. I completely disassembled a computer that my dad had brought home. This was back in the days before internet or color screens, and just made him really uncomfortable because I'm like in fourth grade, and he's walking down the hall and he just sees this computer completely taken apart and just kind of loses his mind. And I had the thing back up, booting up and working before he was able to change clothes and make it back to the dinner table. And he was like, "Oh, I don't know why I can't teach him anything." So technology just kind of felt like a natural place to be. But what I discovered is that most of my friends that were also geeks, as it were, one skill that they lacked was relating to both the machine and the person. And I had the ability to do both. And so that's made it it's made it easy for me to connect people with technologies, because a lot of times technology can be kind of a intimidating thing. It makes people feel uncomfortable. A statement that I hear a lot is, I'm not smart enough to do all this technology stuff. And what I would say, if you've ever thought that about yourself, is first, that's a negative belief that you're choosing to hold on to by saying, I'm not smart enough to do this, or I'm not capable of doing this. And as long as you want to cling to that thought, it's going to be true. But what if you traded that out for something like, this is a new thing and I'm capable of learning new things? And I like working with people that are, especially entrepreneurs, new in business, that feel intimidated by the technology that they need in order to run their business, and helping them bridge that gap and making that gear, making the software, making their computers, their gadgets, their whatever they need feel less intimidating and feel more like a tool that's familiar in the hand, the same way that a hammer or a saw would feel to a carpenter, just making that tool feel familiar and not foreign. So
Yeah.
um, I I specialize in helping people overcome their fear around business technology and sales, and helping them understand that sales is not a dirty thing. It's not a scary thing. It's not a manipulative thing or a coercive thing. It's not, guys in smoky tweed jackets trying to convince you to pay too much for a used Buick. Sales, when done right, is one of the most loving conversations you can have with a person, because you're coming alongside someone who has a struggle and they're desperately in search of a solution, and you're there to help guide them through the decision process of adopting a solution that you have for them, and helping
Yeah.
them go through a question and answer process to discover whether or not the solution fits them.
Fantastic. There is so much to unpack there. And I think you've
Sure.
kind of
Right.
broken it down. No, no, it's fantastic. And I think, I think the audience is really going to enjoy listening to this show, because it kind of, for me, is separated, not separated, but there's two different parts, right? First one being technology and how to overcome the scariness that technology may bring to some. And part two is sales. And that also is another mindset of it being scary as well. So talk to us around, let's start with the sales part, right? What is it around sales that makes it so scary?
A lot of it has to do with previous experiences people have had. Usually it's feeling like they were pushed into a decision by someone who was using a manipulative or coercive kind of tactic or language to move them into a decision that wasn't their own. Sales is not persuading someone else to think like you. Sales is helping someone overcome their own resistance to solve the problem that's in front of them. So a lot of times, and this is kind of globally applicable to people, we get comfortable in our discomfort because it's familiar. There's a problem that you might be experiencing in life, but the idea of fixing that problem is actually scarier than just living with it, because you learned how to live with it. You don't like it, it's uncomfortable, it's frustrating, but the idea of changing everything that you're doing in order to not deal with that problem, or spending more money to solve a problem that may potentially earn you more money, the initial hurdle of spending that money is enough fear to keep you, well, I know what my life is like with this problem. I can predict that. I can plan around it. I've already kind of planned my life around having to deal with this hurdle. And so the idea of fixing it just sounds too challenging and too complicated, because I've already spent all of this time. I've
Yep.
already spent all this energy, and I've already built all of these band-aids and extra processes around this problem, that I'd rather just keep doing it this hard way instead of choose this new path. I mean, yes, wheels would probably help me move my stuff faster, but I've already cut all these ruts and figured out how to tie all these extra knots and ropes to drag my stuff up the hill. I don't think buying a wheelbarrow is the right decision for me right now.
Yeah. And
As
it's
soon
those
as you bought
stories.
a wheelbarrow, you're sitting there thinking, why did I wait?
Yeah, so true. So true. And you're right. A conversation is really just like a problem solving, or a helping tool and a channel to get the other person to see the other side or another way, right? So, let's go through an example, Cam. Maybe one example that you have doesn't have to be names or anything, around someone who was stuck, couldn't see the other side, and how you managed to kind of help them see the other
So
side.
there's a company I work with right now, and we sell a new version of wireless internet technology, which basically, in your home, you can have different ways of connecting to the internet, whether that's dial up or DSL, or if you are really fancy and have just money to burn, a T1 line. Um, and all these are older methods. More currently, there's coax, there's fiber, and then there's fixed wireless, which is internet that's received with a dish or some kind of radio mounted on your house, and it doesn't require a cable coming to the house. Now, there's been a specific technology in that field that's been around for about 20 years. It goes out in bad weather, high winds cause a lot of disruption, and a lot of companies that have been using this older technology to deliver internet have really struggled in providing a consistent and reliable service. And as such, most people in markets where that's the only option have been burned several times before on switching all these different internet companies, and it's a hassle. And every new guy that comes in saying they've got a better, faster connection, they're not creating a vastly different experience. Now, the company that I'm working with, we actually do have a vastly different product. To kind of give an illustration, most of our competition, they're offering speed packages around 25 to 35 meg. We offer packages around 5 to 600 meg. And so a lot of times when I'm encountering potential prospects, I have to overcome a lot of those past hurts from other guys that have knocked on their door and locked them into a contract and a lot of expensive upfront equipment. And so when I come up and I'm telling him, hey, not only am I going to improve this, but nothing out of pocket, and I'm not locking you into a contract, there's still a lot of pain. I mean, I'm giving them a golden egg here, but because of all the pain they've experienced in the past, there's a lot of resistance. One of the biggest objections that anyone's ever going to encounter in sales is the uncertainty objection.
Yeah.
And the best way to pace the uncertainty objection is by opening the conversation with questions. What do you have now? What is your current situation? What are the problems that you're currently facing? Allow them to just unpack everything that they're feeling. Because as soon as you let them talk, and then you actually start addressing the concerns that they've listened to you, they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel like their pain is understood, and you're not just trying to sell them the next shiny goose egg.
So yes, I love that. And I think that starting the conversation with just openness and not necessarily funneling them into one solution only, right? And just seeing that tunnel vision, and actually for them to actually have that channel or have that environment to speak their concerns really does help. And I think it does set an amazing foundation for an amazing, I don't want to call it sales call, but let's just call it sales like conversation, right?
So sales call can feel like a dirty word. So I like to use things like a consultation or a discovery call. A lot of times, when you start that conversation, you're going to get people that are going to try and, cut to the chase. Just tell me how much it is. And if you really have the mindset of, I need to understand what your current situation is more than I want to tell you what my product is, then it's very easy to come to that with, hey, I completely understand. Honestly, there's a lot of different things that I have, but I really don't know what to offer you. And I'm not even sure I have something to offer you. I have a couple questions. If you're okay with me asking these and getting some clarity, that'll help me know whether I can even help you.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. And I think if you can explore, like explain to the audience more around, that openness of the conversation, and how you can then, when you start from open, how do you find the solution? Because you start off really broad, some people
Right.
might struggle to close, right? And that's also important
Sure.
as well. So how,
So there's a sorry,
no,
uh,
go.
there's a sequence that I kind of flow through, which is you're going to open with a discovery. And the discovery is going to be a chance for you to ask questions about several different areas. We'll pull up a document here. Um, but the discovery is about finding out all you can about their situation financially, the problems that they've experienced, their past attempts at solving that problem, What research have they done to solve the problem? Um, what kind of time frame are they looking at in solving the problem? Um, what are their major concerns? Like what does a solution look like to them? Because what a lot of times, you have a product and you know what a solution looks like to you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what the solution looks like to them. So we got to make sure that we're in their shoes. We're completely in their state of mind and listening, truly listening. You have to truly listen. And one of the things that drives me nuts, and I see this happen, especially being in the technology realm, I get a lot of companies that, bring me on to sales calls and pitch me their products. And they'll ask a question and I'll give them an answer. I'll give them a very full answer to that question. And that answer that I give them actually will answer 2 or 3 questions that they're going to answer that they're probably going to ask later. And you can always tell the good salesman from the bad salesman, because the good one, when they get to that later question, they'll say, "Oh, well, my next question was this, but you've already answered that." So, and they'll keep going. The bad one's going to re-ask you the same question again and make you regurgitate that information. Whenever you're making someone retell you the same information, immediately they feel unseen and unheard and like a number. You lost them.
Yeah.
Might be able to earn that trust back, but it's very easy to lose the trust of the person that you're talking to by making them feel unheard or making
Yeah.
them feel like they have to repeat themselves.
Yeah.
Um, so when you're asking questions, you want to listen to what their response is, kind of echo it back to them. Hey, what I think I'm hearing you say is that in the past you've used these other internet companies and they all come in and promised you the moon, but then after everything was said and done, it just wasn't where you expected it to be. Am I hearing that right? Just constantly asking that question. Am I hearing you right? Am I understanding this right? And that way, they know that you've heard them and that you've really taken in what they had to say.
Yeah,
Um,
that's I get that, and it's that mirroring that really does help. And like,
yes,
when you actually open with the open questions and repeat their responses and actually use the same language as you say, so they can feel hurt. Goodness, the amount of like openness and the trust that you build just through a 15 or 10-minute call, if that really does escalate. And so I think that really does give the audience a bit of insight with how to actually find the problem and whether their solution is actually the solution to their problem or not. So now I know that you sent through a document just the other day around the 12 biggest lies that we tell ourselves, right? So like I think some of the people on the call might be like the audience might be very good at actually being open and finding the problem, but some of the objections or some of the scariness that comes from sales are the lies that we tell ourselves. So I'm very keen to explore some of that. Maybe we'll go through with the people can't afford me lie.
good one. So people can't afford me. You'll see this a lot with someone who's either new to the market or they're offering something that is significantly different, or if it is a high ticket program that's designed to be high ticket because it needs to have a considerable amount of buy-in from the customer or the client. And you'll see someone say, I don't feel like my clients can't afford me. There's a lot of judgment that's being cast on your client base when you say that. You're making a decision as to how they're supposed to spend their money instead of leaving that decision up to them. Because what you're doing right there is you're judging the pain that you think you're solving and saying this isn't worth this much money. Now, the one thing that you need to understand is that you being the subject matter expert, you being the person, the business owner, the entrepreneur, the salesperson, this isn't the pain that you're offering to fix is not a pain you feel anymore. So you need to if it's a solution that you actually had to fix for yourself before you can sell it to someone else, you need to go put yourself back in old me shoes and remember what life was like before you fixed that problem. See, it doesn't feel painful now because you've already solved it. You see how to fix the problem, and you see how painless it is. But to someone like, I dealt with a weight loss coach, and she had a really solid program that helped people lose weight. It centered around nutrition and diet and exercise, and then the core of the program was both one-on-one and group coaching. Then they had it priced um, well into the four figures, almost five figures. But there was often like a war that they had with themselves of, am I priced too high? Am I chasing away the clientele? And they had already lost all the weight. They're in shape. They've already got the nutrition plan. They've already got all the healthy habits in place. But the thing that they kept forgetting was, to the person that's still 250 pounds overweight, and they can't break the cycle of eating poorly, and they can't will themselves into the gym consistently 5 days a week, and they just feel lost and confused, and they feel judged every time they have to wedge themselves into some kind of public seating arrangement, whether it's a restaurant or public transit or whatever. The idea of them solving that problem is absolutely worth investing and getting a permanent solution. Um, I was talking a second ago about the questions that you're going through. The biggest question that you have to dig into is their pain, the pain that they're currently experiencing. And I use a little sheet here. I don't know if camera's gonna pick that up,
Can
but
see it. Can see it.
can't see it. All right. I'll send it to you later. You can actually link it in to the podcast. People can download this for free. It's a useful little sheet that I've used, where it outlines all the questions that I need, or all the clarification that I need to ask around in any situation. But with the pain, I have a special little set apart side, and it indicates dollars, pounds, and hours. So how much money has not solving this problem cost you? So for a person that's overweight, you'd start digging into questions like, how much money are you spending on doctors because you're overweight, on prescriptions, on extra large clothing, on uh, other kinds of things that have to be custom tailored to you because they're larger? How much time is it costing you in um, extra time to get ready and time to move around because it takes your body longer to do things? How many pounds have you watched yourself gain in the last 3 years, the last 5 years, the last 8 years, in not solving this problem? And you have to help them. It seems cruel, but you have to help them remember that pain, because, like I said earlier, we get stuck in the comfort of our discomfort and the safety of our discomfort, and we start forgetting our mind. We allow our mind to help us escape from the pain that we've experienced. And so you have to help that client remember the pain that their current situation is causing them.
Yeah.
Uh, and so when you're doing that well, it's not about what you think it should be costing. It's about what is your market willing to pay in order to solve that problem.
Yeah, so true. I remember doing sales courses maybe not too long ago about like the dollar value, and just really like putting numbers down. For example, weight loss, how much are you spending on food? How much are you spending on health, medication, how much, all that kind of stuff. So it actually puts things into perspective and actual tangible numbers, so that the client or the other person on the call can actually physically see. Because sometimes people don't realize, the amount of pain they actually have been suffering, because, as you were saying before, it's just normalized for them. It's completely normal, that they're going through, for example, overweight. They've been, 250 pounds overweight, whatever it may be. And that for them is the normal, until you show them the value and the money that they're actually putting in, that's causing them the pain. So I really love that technique, and would be keen to kind of explore that sheet with you, and share it to the audience as well.
You should have it now. I just sent you a link for it. So yeah, the with pricing yourself and judging what they can afford. The other thing you need to remember is that they're on that call with you, or they're talking to you. They've given you the time because there's something about the problem that they're facing that they can't afford to stay in. Whether that's bad internet or being overweight or um, having bald tires. If you're a tire salesman or you're a car salesman, they can't afford to stay in this car because it's costing them too much to maintain. So yes, the new car that you're selling may be expensive. It may be a little bit outside their budget, as they can see now. But if you can help them zoom out on their budget and say, well, okay, yes, you don't have a car payment on this, 1984 Civic. How much are you paying in maintenance a month to keep this thing rolling? So if you aggregate that together, doesn't that feel like it's a little bit more than a car payment?
Yeah. And so
So
you
your
start,
paid off car, your debt free paid off car is costing you
yeah.
$800 a month, and
Mm,
I'm offering you a Civic for $399.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so true. And so I guess yeah. And so I guess just starting at the top, getting it broad, making sure they feel the pain or see the pain, really experience that pain, narrowing them down. And then you're saying you're slowly getting them out again to see the solution and the what
So
ifs and the
the
could be.
right. So as that document that I shared with you, down at the bottom, I have goals. What does your life look like after this is solved? So after we've gone through all the mire and the muck and the just trudging of where they currently are and how much life sucks there, I like to take them through a little trip through I call it Aladdin's lamp. I'm your genie. You've never had a friend like me. All right. So let's give that lamp a rub. And after I've solved this problem for you, what does your life look like? So if it's weight loss, after you've lost that 250 pounds, close your eyes for a second. See yourself in the mirror. How do you feel about yourself? How does it feel about how does it feel to slip back into those skinny jeans? How does it feel to not be judging yourself every time you go and grab some food out with friends? How does it feel to not have the extra weight, the pain, the sleep apnea, the staying up all night, all of the medical issues? How does it feel when your loved one looks at you and they get that sparkle back in their eye? How does that feel? And really let them explore what life could possibly look like on the other side. You got to, I call it painting the difference between um, Painesville and Pleasure Island. And you got to basically separate these two islands very, very far apart from each other. Painesville is where they currently are, stuck. If you choose to do nothing, you choose to keep your address in Painesville, you're going to live there. But I'm offering you a one time shot to cross the bridge over to Pleasure Island, where this goes away. It goes away for good, it goes away forever. You do not have to spend another minute or another dime or another pound worrying about this problem. What's interesting about the pounds thing is that it doesn't matter what their problem is. If they've stressed over it, stress causes a chemical in your body called cortisol. And cortisol causes the body to store fat. This is scientific. This is instantly Googleable. So the stress hormone cortisol causes you to store fat. We're designed this way. We've been designed this way since God said, Adam. Um, the body does that because when we're stressed, it's the body's self-preservation of, oh gosh, I don't know if I'm going to have resources to feed myself later. So instead of burning this energy, I'm going to save it because I might need it. And so that stress cortisol is causing your body to start to gain weight. So if the problem that you're helping them solve has caused them stress, and you ask them the question, how long have you been dealing with this? Or when did you first notice that this was an issue? And then they get to go back and be like, well, actually, this car has been working for, gosh, I guess 2, 3 years. Okay, so for 2, 3 years, you've been trying to keep this thing running. I'm going to ask you a weird question here. How's your health been over the last 2 or 3 years? Have you noticed any changes in like appetite or sleep or weight gain? Yes, they have. They absolutely have. That's unavoidable. If they're stressing over something for 3 years, yes, they've
Mm,
gained.
yeah. And I like how you've really paced it. Like you've held the space, you're holding the silence, and you're actually having really solid questions that are targeted, right? To
Mhm.
really let them feel it. Even for me, like listening to you just go through on the call has really allowed me to really feel the pain. Not that I'm going through it, but it's like to feel the pain that you're kind of asking them to feel, you know. So there's a level of authenticity that you've also brought into the call as well, which I really enjoyed. So I think we did nail the first one in terms of the objection of I don't know how to price myself or they can't afford me. What are some of
Mhm.
the other lies related to money that people
So
have?
you mentioned that I don't know how to price myself, and honestly, when you don't know how to price yourself, usually it's because you're not treating your business like a business. You're treating it like a job. You're treating it like you're trying to earn a wage from whatever it is you're doing instead of sitting back and thinking about your business like a business owner, like a CEO. Okay. You have to remember that your business needs money outside of just paying you. It's going to have costs, it's going to have expenses. And so when you price yourself, it's not just about how much are you worth per moment of your time or per widget you produce. You also have to take into account what is the business sacrificing by spending your labor on this versus another project. So there's opportunity cost. There's what are the different things that I have to pay for in order for my business to function. If you're a photographer, you have to buy cameras and lenses and software and computers, and all of those things have to be updated over time as technology improves because you got to stay cutting edge. If you're in car sales, you've got um, you still have a computer system that you need to manage. You've got inventory you have to manage. You've got a lot that you have to pay either lease or rental or mortgage on. There's just a lot of things that you have to pay for in the business aside from just your income. So pricing yourself higher is not about gouging the client. It's about making sure that you are a sustainable business that continues to provide the level of service that your clients have come to expect from you longer than just the first client contract. I see a lot of entrepreneurs that burn out because they've only priced themselves to be able to last through that first contract, and they can't sustain that service beyond that first contract. They've priced themselves too low. Um, I don't know how to price myself. The indecision that you are clinging to there is actually costing you more money. It's costing you because you're not just picking something. Be willing to be wrong. Done is better than perfect. Get out, make a mistake, learn from the mistake, improve. It's all about going through the cycle and improving the cycle each iteration through. You're not going to get it right the first time. Stop thinking you're perfect. Bezos didn't get it right the first time. Musk didn't get it right the first time. Jobs didn't get it right the first time. Why do you think you're special?
No, I love it. Sorry, Cam, my baby is crying a lot, so I just have to kind of attend to him. I do apologize. I
You want to
will,
pause back up later?
yeah, if that's
Or
okay. Like maybe 5 10 minutes. He just needs a dummy or a feed or something like that. To just close off. So I do apologize, but he
sure,
doesn't
yeah.
mean it. He doesn't
Go
mean
take
it.
10 and we'll
Okay,
we'll circle back.
let's do that. I really appreciate that. Let's
Sure.
circle back
Yeah.
in 10. What is it? What
Just
time is
message
it? Yeah,
me.
10 minutes done. All right. Thanks, Cam.
Sure.
Right.
So yeah, when we're talking about you know, I don't know how to price myself. You don't set your price; your market does. That's the thing that you really need to remember. The other big thing when it comes to money is that I hear people say that they're not worthy of the price that they're asking. And the thing that you have to remember is that the price that you're charging has nothing to do with your worth. Those are two different factors. Like for me as a Christian, my worth is not defined by my price. It's not defined by what my clients will pay. It's not defined by an hourly rate. It's not defined by how much I've earned in contracts in the past. My worth actually has absolutely nothing to do with my business. My worth was determined by a carpenter who knelt in a garden 2,000 years ago. So that's already set aside. And I'm never going to let my business define my worth. So if you find that you're letting the business dictate what you think about your self-worth, you need to take a step back, because basing your self-worth on what other people are going to pay you is a surefire way to let other people control you with their money. And that's not the business that you want to run. The other thing you need to remember is that the price is absolutely worth the transformation that your client's going to receive by working with you, by getting that problem solved and permanently, by having an advocate on their side to help them overcome their issues. And you're not charging for whatever amount of time it takes you to solve their problem. You're charging for all of the lessons that you had to learn throughout your life in order to get to a place where you not only knew how to solve this problem for yourself, but you knew how to do it for someone else, and you were in a position to do that for them. It's so important that in business, you're separating your sense of self-worth from your pricing, because your self-worth has to be rooted in something deeper.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
that's
you're going to allow your client to just tow you around.
yeah. Yeah, no, I really love that. It is tricky though. It is very hard to do so, to have that detachment, because you're right, it doesn't actually determine your self-worth. It's just the price. And essentially money is just money. It's just the value they actually bring to the actual client itself. So in order to actually see that, it just takes that another level of thinking and detachment that I think a lot of people, including myself, really did struggle with for quite some time as well. So I really love that detachment, or the
Mm-hmm.
you're not, your client isn't worth, so you're not worth the money. It's just you are you, and the mud business on the other is on the other side. So thank you so much for that, Cam.
Absolutely. I say the biggest thing that I hear, um, and this comes from a kind of a limiting belief, a fear of, it's an irrational fear. It's not based in logic. It's not based in any kind of fact. It's just a fear of scarcity, really. Um, but it's when you start behaving in ways where you're chasing down clients, or you're overextending yourself to just get a client, out of a fear like there's not going to be enough clients, or you try and extract too much money from a client, or you start, once you get someone that's bought something from you once, you keep trying to go back and milk that same cow, instead of just allowing them to buy whatever it was that solved their problem, and allowing them to go and trusting that there are going to be more people that need the solution. Okay. So that all kind of comes down to this belief or this fear that there's not enough clients. And I went through some census data because I was dealing with a lot of coaches and entrepreneurs here in the U.S. And so I just kind of went through some census data for the U.S. with them, just to kind of break this idea down. So um, at that time, I looked at our census, and it says in the U.S. there were 300, almost 333 million people, a little bit under. Um, at that time, over 4.8 or excuse me, 4.9 million of them were 28 years old, which is the prime buying age here in the United States. That's based on statistical data, that's the age at which people have the most liquidity and the least responsibility. Aside from some student loans and maybe a car payment, they haven't established a deep family yet. They haven't gone into significant debt for a business yet. They haven't leveraged themselves for a giant house or a mortgage. They have a lot of liquidity, a lot of freedom. I went on to say that there was approximately 135 million of them are between the ages of 24 and 55, which according to our Nielsen data, which is what a lot of advertising agencies use to determine statistics and when the best time is to run ads, that is the prime buying window for consumers. So people between the ages of 24 and 55 are what we call your educated consumer base, that are probably buyers. Outside of 45 or outside of 55, you start getting people that are a little more comfortable with their situation. They're not willing to try new things. And below 24, generally they haven't accumulated enough money to have the kind of liquidity to invest in high ticket stuff. So the people in that age bracket have problems. At that time, statistics showed that there were about 1.3 million suicide attempts each year in the US. The average household debt was $140,000. There were 27 and a quarter million small business owners. Each year, the US records about 750,000 divorces. So it's about 750,000 divorces. In 2020, during the pandemic, over 47 million people were laid off of their jobs. 17.3 million reported cases of depression. And the last one is a bit of a triggering statistic, but it had to do with women who have suffered some sort of assault and the costs that they incur over their lifetime in trying to deal with that, either through therapy or other kinds of healing or court costs or whatever. And I went through those numbers to show that of these people that are in the US, there are so many different people that are experiencing a vast array of different problems. I mean, if we just focus on 27, almost 28 million small business owners, 28 million small business owners. So if you are someone who is selling something that helps small business owners, and you can help up to 100 people a week, that means in a year, you can only help 5,000 people. I think that's right. Maybe it's 50,000 people. Nope, 5,000 people.
Right.
5,000 people. 5,000 people a year, 100 people a week. Okay, so out of 27 or 28 million people, you've helped 5,000 that year. So you haven't even made a dent in the people that could possibly need your solution. So the idea that there aren't enough clients really comes from a few core things. And number one is that you haven't really looked for the client. When I say that, a lot of people will come back with, well, it's intimidating to go out and meet new people. So shyness is actually your ego. Shyness is your ego saying that what I have is so important and my sense of self-worth is so fragile that it's not worth going out and helping someone. That's egotistical. That's selfish. Okay. And laziness is entitlement. The idea that you can sit back and that the clients are going to come find you. I've got a sales mentor that I follow, and he would always say to us, you need to get out of the office and go find your client because the client bus doesn't stop here. The customer bus doesn't stop here.
Yeah.
So nobody's going to just come and deliver you a batch full of willing buyers today. You're going to have to go out and find them. And so the laziness of waiting for that client to find you is an entitlement belief that you deserve for someone to put a customer bus stop outside your front door.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of people have chosen to hold the belief that there aren't enough clients because it's easier to blame others for this situation than to take responsibility for the fact that they haven't gone out and done the work
Mm.
to talk to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're looking for clients, there's three things you have to do. It's three things. And as long as you're doing these three things, your business is going to grow. Do you know what those three things are?
Well, now you've got me intrigued.
It's too easy. And as soon as I tell you what these three things are, you're gonna just your head's gonna hit the desk because it's so aggravatingly simple. And all of the other minutia that we as business owners wind ourselves up on, it it just kind of falls away when you remember that these three things are the only things standing in between you and a successful business. Number one, go talk to someone you don't know. So just go talk to people. Go talk to people that you don't know. Number two, tell them what you do. Over the course of that conversation, just tell them what it is you do. If you're a coach, hey, my name is Cameron. I'm a coach. You sell the internet. Hey, my name is Cameron. I help people connect to the internet faster and for less money. Hey, my name is Cameron. I sell cars. Number three, and this is the really important one. You got to offer them help. You have to offer to help. You cannot do business until an offer is made. Every day, Walmart in every store is making millions of offers. They do it with a cute little price tag sitting beneath the product on the shelf. That is an offer. It is an offer to buy that product.
Yeah.
It is offer.
Yeah.
So you have to offer to help.
That's
Talk to people. Tell them what you do. Offer to help.
And that is insanely simple, as you just said. Insanely simple. I really like the offer part. I think the talking to people and maybe the telling them what you do might be easy for some, but the offer, hey, would you like a blah? Would you like a coaching program? Would you like an internet service? Would you like to accelerate your sales? Is actually quite tricky sometimes. And sometimes putting the offer out there, as simple as it may be, if you just don't ask the question, sometimes you just don't get. And then my husband always says, you got to ask what you got to ask, otherwise you won't get. And it's, and so that's kind of
That's
like really
biblical.
resonated with me. And same with this message as well. Like so simple. Yeah. So like tricky for some, but in saying that, that's actually a really good segue. Cam,
Mhm.
how do people find you? What can you offer the audience today?
So you can find me on Facebook, Coach Cameron. You can find me on Instagram at Coach Cam.
Mm.
Uh, is it Coach Cam? No, sorry, it's at Coach Murdoch. Um, so on Instagram, it's at Coach Murdoch, and then I've got a Facebook page, Coaching with Cam. You can find me on my website, businessbiblically.com. Um, and as far as what I can offer, I mean, I'm happy to share this list of lies and truths. I feel like that's been very powerful for a lot of people to just to kind of read through a few times, just to get your head out of your own funk. And then, like I said, I'm going to share that prospect sheet with you, just as a reminder of the different questions that you need to get answered when you're talking to someone new about their problem and whether or not you can help them. I've done one-on-one sessions with businesses. I've done group sessions where I've gone through and taught this curriculum. I actually have a course called the King's Elite Sales Course, where we're going to go through and break down all of the hesitations and break down the actual process of going through a consultation and teach you how to do sales, not from a manipulative standpoint, but from an actual loving standpoint. Because when it's done right, selling something to someone is one of the most loving conversations you can have because you're genuinely reaching out to them and inviting them to take a step out of their pain and join you on a journey to a better life.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I love that. I'm going to have the podcast show as the title. Sales is one of the most loving conversations you can have. I think that is a great hook to bring people in. And so I will have all those links, Cam, in the description. And then for those of you who are listening, please subscribe to this podcast. We'll be having so many different tips, tricks of various guests and professionals all around sales and how you can enjoy it, how sales can be so loving and enjoyable, and tools, automation, tech that will actually help automate and make more faster the sales process. So thank you so much, Cam, once again. I really hope we can do this again later on down the track, if not sooner. And then, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Hey, Vi, thank you so much for inviting me on. I'm really excited to be a part of this, and just the more people that we can get on board with this idea that sales is not scary and it's not slimy and it's not mean and it's not coercive or manipulative, but it actually is how we help people grow.
Yeah.
Then I truly believe that we can create a new economy where people are excited to do business with each other.
Yeah. And I think this is just the start, right? Well, this is one corner of the world, right? And so we'll build this into a massive tidal wave so that way everyone can kind of learn to love sales. Yes, 100%. Thank you so much again, Cam. And for those of you who want to follow Cam, please feel free to follow the links and subscribe to this podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.